When you listen to this entire podcast, you're going to look back and say, holy hell, this was one legendary episode because it featured a legend, D. Sivanandhan. He served as the Joint Commissioner of the Mumbai Police. He also served in the Intelligence Bureau and the CBI. While he was serving in Mumbai in the 90s, he was responsible for bringing down the Mumbai underworld. That and more on this extremely exciting episode of the Ranveer show. We also spoke about geopolitics and a bunch of other subjects. D. Shivanandan sir will return on the show. Remember, follow the Ranveer show on Spotify because every episode is available on Spotify 48 hours before it's available anywhere else in the world. Lots of episodes like this coming up for you this year. We're changing up the flavor of the podcast. We're making it more about experiences and information and stories. This and more coming up on this extremely adventurous episode of The Ranveer Show. Dishanandan sir, absolute honor having you on the show, sir.
Thank you so much. It's an enjoyable evening for me with a young man like you to chat.
So, you just told me you're 71 years old, which kind of made me think that you're probably the oldest and most experienced person we've had on the show.
Could be General Bakshi, maybe older than me. With his grey moustache and all, he looks
Okay.
little. Yeah.
Sir, but I've given the audience an introduction on everything you've done. That's why I'm going to head straight into your stories because that's what people really, really want to know from you. One thing I've got to ask you is about the 90s specifically, sir. I was born in 1993, and even as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, I remember the turmoil that the 90s had in terms of crime, that it had in terms of the underworld.
Yes.
And when I was doing my research on you, a lot of people attribute you with cleaning up sort of the 90s and early
fact.
2000s.
It's a
world.
fact.
So, what was that like from your eyes, sir?
See, I'll have to get into a storytelling mode all the time because nothing comes to a climax unless it has a beginning. So this beginning is like, let us say, Chicago Mafia, Godfather, the Marlon Brando,
Yes, sir.
and various things like that, or Sicilian Mafia, Chinese Mafia, and things like that. So the Indian Mafia started long before early 60s or even earlier than that with this guy called Karim Lala from Afghanistan. He's a Pathan gang. So whoever was his Samad Khan, this Khan, that Khan, they were all the Pathani gangs. So the opposite was the local Muslim gang started by Dawood Ibrahim somewhere around 82, 83, 84. In between around that time was this Tamilian people called Haji Mastan and that Varadarajan Mudaliyar and others. So then more or less all those people faded out, and then this Dawood Ibrahim and his people. So almost all other youngsters of that time would have worked associated with Dawood Ibrahim in one way or the other. Example is Arun Gowli or Amar Naik or Ashwin Naik or Abu Salem or Chhota Rajan. All of them are a part of this thing. And so ultimately the whole thing is brought to a peak by all these people doing these things in 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s and 2000. So 1998 is the period where I enter into the picture, and the whole lot of things which they have done also reached an unbearable climax now, where the society and the government and the others had to tolerate it enough, they had to call it a stop. So that's the period they looked for somebody, and then I came into the picture and we delivered what has to be done. And without any instruction from anybody. Best is, like baby with the bathwater. You are given a bucket of water, you splash yourself. By the end of it, the whole thing is clean. So to put it in one line, later on you can go dive deep into this thing, but to put it in one line, the 60s, 70s, 80s shootouts which they shot each other on the roads, they were shooting people. Ahmedabad, they used to shoot. Everywhere they were doing all these things. It was not clean up, it was a build up. And they started shooting everyone to build up the superiority of each gang. So in that, if policemen had shot somebody, that also was conceived or perceived to be that done on behalf of the one side of the other, So at a stage they realized when they shot it was murder, when the police shot it became encounter. So they got the job, a clean job done through somebody else. I hope you're
Yeah,
getting
no,
it.
no, I am.
So if that is the scenario, then it reached in 1998, 97, 97, or the peak period. And then they have shot all businessmen from 95, let us say, big people like Om Prakash Kukreja, builder worth 1,000 crores, or Taqiyuddin Wahid, the MD of East West Airlines, or Vallabh Thakkar, or Manish Lala, or Natwarlal Shah, or various peoples like that, like Sunit Katav of Katav Mill. They were all in 90. Gulshan Kumar in 95. These are all in 95 and then 96. So in 98, exactly full year, 12 months, they had shot 101 businessmen on the roads, either in their cars or in the road or in the cash counter or wherever it is. So, in simple terms, 101 murders divided by 365 is 3.5 days, one man is shot dead. Now, mind you, this is only shooting and not cutting your neck or showing your knife or a variety of other ways. Only bullets were used for killing 101 people, means every 3.5 days. So the press was also in formative stage that time. The TV was coming, the mobile was coming. So it went, haywire, saying that, on 15th murder and 17th murder, 38th murder, Mumbai police is Nishkami and things like that. I don't know what all flowery languages they can use. So the tension was building, the whole thing was building. So in between, if you see this, I'm describing 98. So if we go a little bit ahead, in 2000, Rakesh Roshan was set to entire shot. He's alive. Rajiv Rai, another producer, was shot. So with all these things, the build-up was so very massive. Somebody in between, again, you go back a little bit, 95, lot of politicians were killed. Prem Nayak, Prem Das Naik, I think, is BJP man in Hill Road, he was shot with AK-47. Then some Vivek Kelkar and so many MLAs from Shiv Sena, BJP, and all of them were shot. So the situation became such a bad scene. Extortion was very high. And marriages were not taking place in Marine Drive and all, because the day you do marriage, people will start asking money for hefty sums, 2 crore, 10 crore. Jo muh mange bolega, you have to cry, beg and all that kind of thing. Bought a car, there was a price. You sold a car, there is a demand, and flat and all that. So the businesses have come to a halt. Marriages have come to a halt. So that's the scene. Police also came to a halt because in 97, there was one guy called Javed Fauda was shot by the one ACP, Vasant Doble. So then that was allegedly to be a fake. So there was an inquiry. The Bombay, two people, one lawyer and one politician, filed an encounter petition in the High Court. So the High Court ordered Justice Agyar. He was the principal sessions judge. Later he became High Court judge. So he was asked to inquire. He came to a conclusion after full inquiry that not only that was a fake encounter, 95 other cases were also fake. So 95 murder cases against 95 teams of Mumbai police. So facing murder is not a joke now. So Mumbai police said, okay, now what do? We just going home for a holiday. They all took a holiday and they didn't do anything. That is the time these gangsters had peaked. Mumbai police guns were there and in the holster, and they were on a holiday and they were not doing anything. So that is the time they went berserk, and the case was pending. Police was demoralized because of the murder cases inquiry and things like that. So that's the time one had to come in and set right. So that meant a lot. That meant a lot.
So, I feel every person has a kind of core skill set in their own career. And if I had to highlight 2 of your skills over any other skill, after all the research we've done, it's intelligence and strategy.
Intelligence and strategy, yes, because I worked in the intelligence bureau for 6 years in the beginning of my career. Intelligence bureau is the professional intelligence gathering organization from which R&AW got separated. So there you hone your skills and then come. And then I became additional commissioner of crime. Then I worked in the CBI again in 2001, 2004 for 3 years. So all these things do give, and again Naxalite area, that is 95, 98, their everyday survival is a intelligence operation or strategy. Otherwise you get shot in an ambush or your vehicle gets blown up into pieces. You are also, for like a dry flush, you'll be hanging on the trees. So this is what is the intelligence all about. And then you have to bring in to the table as the leader. You can't expect everyone to come up with all this kind of thing. So at the helm of affairs, the leader, if you study about leadership qualities, you have to put all these things on the table and guide people.
Yes.
So if you guide the force, like all your army chaps you would have spoken to, a leader takes the lead and others follow.
Yes, sir.
Leader can't stay behind and say, you go, I'll come behind you. So you lead. So that is what happened in this my strategy. Strategies are multiple strategies, which I will tell you later.
So my question to you is, in 1998, then how did you begin that cleanup?
Beginning is to fall flat, hurt your nose, get up, and then wipe your nose and do something different. And like that you have to do by all these things. But in my case, there was a fantastic foundation because I worked in the same crime branch. See, in 98 I came as a joint CP crime. My boss was a super non-corrupt gentleman called Mr. R.H. Mendonça. And he was fully supportive and completely, and also the government. The government is Shiv Sena BJP government. Manohar Joshi was the CM and Gopinath Munde was the deputy CM. So that is the scenario. And that is, in that scenario, I had a fabulous foundation because I worked for 3 years as additional CP crime. So I had this background of all these people, their dossiers, their families, their this, that, everything. That is the background on which your intelligence edifice can be built. Now you come there, and when the blood is flowing on the marble floor or on the road divider, then you have to 360 degrees think and come up with your own strategies. I told you police had gone for a holiday because they wouldn't shoot because of the other things. So we took strategies, as you call it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not that in one day, in half an hour, you sit under a Bodhi tree and you get all that, Eureka, I run naked. No, it's not like that. It happened slowly, one by one, hit and run, and then it yielded result. But the result in one line is, by the end of 2002, when I left that place, since then to now, zero shootout either by police or by the criminals. This is 19 years, unprecedented. From 60, 70, 90, 2000, there was not a single year where there were not shootouts either by the police or by this thing. So people like you who are born have never had a single gunshot. This is a rare treat, I must say. You're going to school, you're no kidnapping, your father, mother are not told this is so-and-so boy going to so-and-so school, no, beware, no, they lose sleep and things like that. Nothing like that. Schools are running, children are running helter-skelter, and all the buildings are going on. Lodas are building 100 floors. So, hunky-dory, this is the result of that time, that work we have done.
Yeah. I think a lot of young people, especially Gen Z, which is born after 2000 or even 90s kids, don't understand the role that generally India's entire police department has played in safety of this country. India was a very different place in the 90s and 80s.
Yes. 19 and 80s, if you see of the country, every state, every region is a country, countries by itself. Like Maharashtra is 3-4 countries like Marathwada, Vidarbha, Khandesh, Konkan, like that. No? The Maharashtra itself is a huge state, second biggest maybe. So Bihar is another, UP is, can be divided easily for the different culture, different languages, different things. Survival is also different there. So our country is a huge kaleidoscopical combination of so many cultures, and Mumbai, mind you, I must tell you, is a combination, is an attractive place of all these talents coming from, let us say, Tripura or Jalandhar, Ludhiana, Kanyakumari, like this Varadarajan Mudaliar, and these people are from Kadalur and other places from Tamil Nadu. So these guys acted movies, Diwar, Mukaddarka, Sikandar, glorified them. So those guys have come from the south. Abu Salem is from Pratapgarh, Azamgarh and things like that. So this is an attractive beehive where Maya Nagari, let me put it. So where all varieties of talents came. Like an Amitabh Bachchan came and as they say, slept in the bench in front of Oberoi and became a superstar.
Yeah.
So are other talents.
Yeah.
Industrialists, entrepreneurs, educationists, and gangsters and criminals.
Yeah. So, the one name that a lot of people my age have heard about and read about and know about is, of course, Dawood Ibrahim. I have to ask you, sir, directly because this is the one opportunity I've got to speak to someone like yourself. Did you ever have a chance to meet him in
He
person?
ran away in 1984 when he was tried for a murder and the court gave a bail, and then he ran away to Dubai in 1984. From Dubai, he ran away in 1993 after the 12th March 1993 blast, after the Babri Masjid thing. So I came into Mumbai only in 1987. Before that, I was running around in all villages. My postings for 11 years, from 76, I'm from the 76 IPS, to 11 years until 1987, I was running around in Latur, Satara, Sindhudurg, Pune, Aurangabad, and all villages, painting the villages red. So I came to Mumbai only in 87. By the time I had come, he had run away from this place. He is incidentally son of my Havaldar. His father used to work in the crime branch as a Havaldar. 12 children he had. This guy is the seventh uneducated product of theirs.
What was the father like?
Father was a Havaldar. The 50,000 Havaldars we have, he's one of them. That's it. He's nothing special. Besides producing 12 children, he didn't do anything special that way. Yeah.
But what do you think happened? I mean, how does a Havaldar's kid become the most wanted person in the country?
See, this is that hunar of a negative variety, the fire in the belly of a negative variety. So if you take it up as a case study, this is a totally negative thing. He's worth a few $1 billion now in Pakistan as there. He's the most wanted, dreaded drug dealer by the UN declaration and various other things. These are all highlights of a man who has done everything negative. What he has done to Mumbai in 1993, March 12th, is something unpardonable. 257 people died, 857 people injured, 100 crores or more worth property went up in smoke. This is something which is no Indian can do to a fellow Indian.
He's denied it, sir.
Every criminal denies it. There is not a single. We have got overwhelming evidence. Overwhelming means it will go through your roof. I was additional CP crime in August 1993 when this case was being investigated and charge sheeted. When the case took place, I was that Deputy Director Intelligence Bureau, and I have gone with the Americans going from Bombay Stock Exchange to this thing. Is there a criminal who comes and tells you that I have done this crime and hang me? Not at all. And not a dastardly crime like this where Mumbai was blown up. No.
So
It's not an ordinary crime we are talking about. We are talking about 12 blasts where the root of Air India or BSC or that Sirak Hotel, where is it? Have you seen Sirak Hotel? It's a multi-story structure, vanished. So this is not a small thing which he can accept and come here and say happily ever after. Not at all. And we are not here asking for any bloody bugger's acceptance or denial, no? Case is a case. Every case is worked on the evidence available to us. Yeah. We are not at the mercy of a criminal to say, yes, we have done.
Yeah. So what's he been doing in Pakistan for this much time?
He has been doing there, leading his life. To save his backside is the first job to start with. Then his brothers and various others. He's got a lot of other businesses to do with. He used to run around between London, Johannesburg and various other places. A lot of legitimate businesses are also there. Then besides that, he's been doing drug dealing, arms dealing and various other things, hotels, prostitution, rackets, all that. He's a gangster. So he's doing gangster's job there under the protection of Pakistani government. The army, the ISI and others are protecting him. And whatever tasks they give, he must be doing it for them.
What can he do for them other than money?
He knows India. He has got a lot of connections even now. Even today, he can talk to people and get things done. He's got a foot soldiers all over the place. He can do a lot for He can do a lot.
Yes, sir.
Yes. For example, any place, any building, any place, all these people can go there and take pictures and they can give the geographical thing and all that.
So there is some elements of crime still in this country which are residues of like the 90s?
See, today you must know organized crime means tons of money. Otherwise, there is no organized crime at all. So any organized crime organized by gangs, by people who are knowledgeable, strategists and things like that, would involve all these things which you are asking me. So to even today, if you ask me completely after I had eliminated this gangsterism, it is not that gangsterism has been eliminated. It was eliminated to the extent that there are no extortion calls and there are no open threat, and nobody will go to an office and put up a gun there saying that atta bol, no. वो सब नहीं है. I still remember a case where one elected corporate woman, corporator, going to the MTNL general manager, a Madrasi poor man, he never seen a gun. She opens her bag, takes out a gun, keeps it on the table, and demanded whatever it is in her horse shown. That man lost his breath. No, he couldn't breathe. So that doesn't happen now.
Right.
Or earlier, what all big men, all business people, when they moved, they didn't know which side the bullets will come. Any motorcycle coming on the side and parking, you should expect a bullet. I want to tell you a story. One Satish Raje was a finance guy of this gang, Dawood Ibrahim's gang. So JJ Hospital ke samne in a traffic signal, he had put bulletproof glasses on his car, imported car. So that was there. He was sitting there. Two motorcycles came on the side and they had a hammer each, and they just bulletproof is not hammer proof, or so they just hammered it and they shot him, pinned him down and went away. Same thing happened to your Sunit Katau in a Mercedes Benz in a race course, that station, Mahalakshmi station. In a traffic, all sides vehicles are surrounding him. He can't go back. Nothing can be done. Two sides, Amar Naik's gang people came, shot him and went away.
Yeah.
That answers your question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Um,
So having a gun with you or doing anything is of no value.
So I have to dial it back a little bit and bring it back to the day of the 93 blast. What was it like from your eyes? And was there any sort of intelligence that some event was like this was going to happen?
See, there was no intelligence specific that way. But what you should know, the sequence is this, that December 6, 1992, Babri Masjid was brought down. So there was a riot by the Muslims, obviously, immediately that night itself. And the Mumbai police controlled it very, very efficiently. In a few days, they controlled it completely. And there was dead lull, silence. And then the Hindus, the Shiv Sena and other parties started working. BMC was with them. So they collected their own intelligence strategy, whatever you call. So then, by mid-January, when two Matadi Kamgars went out for passing urine or whatever it is, they were done to death, and then the next riot started. This time it was the Hindus who were on the revenge path. So the movie called Zakham, if you have seen Mahesh Bhatt's movie, they wear that bandana, red Bhagava bandana and go Jai Shivaji, all that kind of thing. So that happened. There again, plenty of laws. And there, the people who suffered the loss is Muslims. Muslim shops were all burned. Muslim people were burned. Muslim people who were living in flats, they were located them in the flats and they were attacked and things like that. So Muslim businesses were torched, like you also have a shop, others, in between there's a Muslim, some Noor Jahan, something, that was torched and things like that. So having been done this, allegedly, as per the intelligence, a few of them went to Dawood Ibrahim, said we have to avenge this kind of the humiliation. And there he was forced or asked or cajoled, whatever it is, he was asked. So he, with the help of ISI, had organized the landing of 4,000 kilos of RDX, that is 4 metric tons of RDX, 2,000 AK-47, 2,000 hand grenades. This is like using a hammer for killing a fly. This much he had brought and landed in that Digi and various other places.
It comes through ship.
Yeah, it came by the ship and boats and things like that. And these customs officers were conniving. One additional commissioner called Somnath Thapa, customs collector, he organized it, helped. He was arrested and prosecuted. And later he died of cancer and then he faced the prosecution. So the conspiracy allegedly was hatched in a place called Persian Darbar, a hotel here in Panvel. So that kind of things were all there. That they were, when the mall came also, they were helped by people not interfering and things like that. Then ultimately they were all landed there in Mahim, that building called Al Hussein or something, where this Tiger Memon, just next to Mahim police station, that's where it was all assembled. and overnight, one night before, they took it various places and then they parked it. And what happened is history. Yeah.
What was it like from your eyes, sir?
See, from my eyes, this is the biggest ever terrorist attack in the world. Your 9/11 and all came much later. This is in 93, 12th March 1993, in 1 hour in between 12 to 1 or 1 to 2. 12 blasts took place and people didn't know. 2 buses in Century Bazaar just vanished like smoke, up in the smoke. People gone. So this is something unimaginable. The whole buildings were shaking in far off places. The glasses were all cracked in 2 furlongs away. And this kind of powerful RDX blast nobody has ever seen, not in the US. The US next biggest thing happened was in 2001, that WTC tower. So US or other countries didn't bother because we are a third world country. But then when they got hit, then the whole holy war against terrorism began. But when it happened to us, nothing like that. No earth shook. So in my eyes, that was the biggest ever terrorist attack in the world. Everybody else should have woken up and there should have been solidarity amongst all good countries, and they should have, and this was not any jihadi terrorist, not Osama bin Laden or Al-Qaeda or anything like that. He was just a small time petty criminal who maybe had become little rich. Beyond that, even nothing great about him. He could have been done away with, They didn't do. Our country didn't do, as well as other countries didn't do. Besides only declarations by UN and things like that, nothing solid happened that way. So in my opinion, that was a missed opportunity for us to take. We have been sending tons of papers to Pakistan. Pakistan always denies. For example, when Musharraf came, Musharraf is the president of Pakistan. In Agra Marriott Hotel meeting, Mr. L.K. Advani, Deputy PM, the first question he asked was, what about Dawood Ibrahim being given to us? He said, there's nobody like Dawood Ibrahim. And the whole meeting went flat because of this. It started with this. So the point is they denied that all this guy is not. But then he stayed in a place called Clifton, a defense colony area. He lives there.
So what do you think his personal motivation was for doing such an event?
See, he is, the motivation as per this thing is the request by the Muslims that we have been done to humiliation. Our Babri Masjid was brought down. Our people have been done to that second riot, whatever happened. So it's a humiliation. You have to avenge and make us feel the same, or bring us at the same level. So he said, okay, then we will do that. He had access to ISI and he had access to, and Pakistan has a grouse against us from 1947. I think you should not forget that. It is not Dawood Ibrahim alone who did this. And he didn't put money for putting all this equipment. It is given free by Pakistan. No hand grenades and AK-47, RDX, all that was given by ISI in packed condition. We had, I told you earlier, overwhelming evidence that it came from Pakistan.
Yeah.
So Pakistan gave, so that Pakistan wants instability in our country. Now, when we are discussing Dawood Ibrahim, don't forget that we have an enemy called Pakistan. And they would use him to destabilize us. Our economic growth or our various other growth is unparalleled to them. So they have to destabilize us. They did that 1993. Same is about 2006, 2008, 26/11/2008. Destabilizing the Indian economy, foreign capital flowing in, our growth and all that. No?
Yeah. So I have to still talk a little bit about 93, and I definitely want to
Yeah, you
talk
speak
about
about-
2008 as well.
Yes.
So in 93, so what was the police strategy after this had happened?
In 93, after that, there was a complete Hindu-Muslim divide. Okay? The ghettoism began. All Muslims began to assemble in their place, and Muslims have become separate ghettos have come. So the people, whoever came after that as Commissioner of Police, I remember Mr. Satish Sahani came, and Mr. Samra was the commissioner when the blast took place. And when the riot took place, Mr. S.K. Bapat. 92 was S.K. Bapat, 93 was Mr. Samra, and 94 or 93 later, 93 August and all, is Mr. Satish Sahani. So they started Mohalla committees where Hindu-Muslim unity was there. The complete loss of faith on the government by the Muslims as well as the Hindus and the police force and various other things. There was a complete divide. The way the investigation was done, there was a inquiry by Justice Sri Krishna which was instituted by the Congress government. Sudhakar Rao Naik was the chief minister there. So that stopped because the Shiv Sena BJP government came in 95. So they said, "Ye to bakwas hai," they stopped it completely. So with that kind of a thing, the people's loss of faith over the government and the governance and the faith that the Hindus will protect us or Muslims will protect us, neighbors will look after us, all that kind of the faith factor had completely gone. Even today, if we see, all of them are living that thing. You heard various allegations that no Hindu will be allowed to enter into their building to stay, or a Muslim would not be given entry to stay in as a tenant in a Hindu-dominated society. Yeah. So that allegations you come, no, you hear in this cinema people and all that making off and on. So that is the kind of divide. So the police had to bridge the deficit of faith, deficit of trust. And then they also had to see that nothing like that would happen again. So, but it happened. It happened in 2006. If you see that the train blast took place, ISI, Pakistan. So, if 93 is done by Dawood Ibrahim, later on, because of this Babri Masjids and various other things, Pakistanis played active role in various blasts like Jaipur in 2008. Jaipur hai, Bangalore hai, Surat hai, all of them were 1818 blasts. Surat it didn't blast, but in Jaipur it happened, in Bangalore it happened, in Surat it didn't blast because of faulty thing. In Mumbai it happened. So many such incidents happened. And a new product called Indian Mujahideen came. Riyaz Bhatkal and his brother Yasin Bhatkal, in the Karnataka on the coastal side near Udupi, they are there. So they started doing their thing. Our boys went to Pakistan and got trained by the army majors. They came back and started all assembling this assembling these IEDs, improvised explosive device or bomb or whatever you call. So all these developments, our country went into the throes of all these problems. And with all these things, our development, our economic activity, our various other things took a toss. There was a lot of issues because the government had to focus on so much to control, bring law and order, peace. Then you have your Punjab terrorism, then you had your Srinagar, JNK terrorism, then Bodo, this Ulfa, Tamil Nadu LTT. So our country went into a paroxysm of all these things that way. So our whole focus is maintenance of law and order and bringing peace and protection and security for the people.
Where are we now, sir? In 2021?
We are there, this internet. See, after this 91 thing, America took it upon itself to eliminate terrorism. They waged a war in Syria, Yemen, Afghanistan. 20 years later, they have taken back. What happened to Taliban, you all know very well. So that's what my reading interest is all about. What's happening in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Quetta, all these things. That's what book after book I read. So where are we, if you ask? We are, our biggest problem is Pakistan, but our biggest problem is China. Our major problem is China, and China is surrounding us with all their ports and defense units, air bases and things like that. And our internal problems are basically J&K, and the infiltration coming from Pakistan. Those people come, attack, this Uri attack, if you remember, Pathankot attack, you remember, or recently all those things where a colonel is killed, or somebody, recently also one colonel was killed. So these internal security issues, for example, the Tripura riot where a colonel and others were killed and things like that. So our firefighting is continuously going on. So LTTE has been eliminated by the Sri Lankan people, so South Tamil Nadu and other areas are free. But then Naxalism is a big area. Naxalism, 40% corridor, red corridor, you know about Naxalism, red corridor. That is Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Orissa, Jharkhand, Bihar, then West Bengal. Nepal is also part of it, but Nepal is a different country. So this area is completely under the domination of the Naxalites, and this is going on from 1972. So for our country, the internal security management itself is a big challenge. And so much of resources, the BSF, the CRP, the ITBP, all of them are deployed in this red corridor. This red corridor, which I gave you now, is 40% of the geography. Mr. Manmohan Singh in 2010 DGP's conference, which I attended, he said, this is the biggest internal security threat for the country, which remains even now.
So to some kid who doesn't know anything about Naxalites or what this Naxal culture is about, How would you explain this story?
See, Naxalism is an offshoot of what happened in China. Mao, in 1949, he brought the Cultural Revolution. The previous government was thrown away and they brought the Communist Party. So this is the extreme communism is Naxalism. It started in a place called Naxalbari in 1972 in there. So the jamindars and big people who are exploiting all the poor and the Adivasis, they were beheaded and put in a pole and kept it there and all that. So this is all started by some revolutionaries, Communist Party, Kanu Sanyal and Charu Majumdar and things like that. A lot of educated people join in that. Your Farooq Kobad Gandhi, just now they have removed him in the newspaper you would have read. He is a Malabar Hill based chartered accountant, studied in Doon School and London. He was doing CA in London. He got attracted towards communism and he became his wife Anuradha Gandhi and him. They were doing Naxal front thing. So this lot of people got attracted towards this. Since it's an ideology-based revolution of the people, it is going on unabated from 1972 to now. But if anyone, all of you young people think that these people are Robin Hood, they want to bring good life to the poor Adivasis, is totally wrong. Mao said that the Sarkari armory is your armory. Don't buy a weapon with money. Go and loot and take over and kill the police. Police is a class enemy and overthrow the government and you start ruling with the bullets, not by the ballot. So none of all the youngsters of your nature or even all the country people will believe that these Naxalites are fighting to take over the government running. They are not trying to get Adivasis, their pata, their land thing or some bank loan or things like that. That is totally mistaken. So these people want to overthrow the government and they have been doing it. It is a mirage. It is like chasing the mirage, Who will tell them? In China, they have gone way ahead of them, no? Russians have gone way ahead of them. And now these people are looking up to them and then trying to do all sorts of things here. Lots of lives are lost. I want to tell you, in internal exigencies, emergencies, insurgencies, and all these things controlling this, from 1947 to now, we have lost more than 37,000 policemen in action. Is it a small number? 75 years, like Kashmir, Nagaland, Mizoram, South India, North India, Udar, Naxalite area, 37,000 people. Every October 21st at 8 o'clock in the morning, we do a parade all over the country where that year's number of policemen who laid down their lives as a sacrifice, we read it out and do a parade, Shok parade we do. So this is going on and on and on and on. It's not a small price to pay. That's my point.
Not at all. So
Naxalism is that.
Cutting away slightly from this conversation, I just want to remind the audience that we're going to link all these links down below. And secondly, also check out our highlights channel. It's called TRS Clips, where you'll find highlights of this episode and all the other episodes. But so coming back to our conversation, one burning question I have honestly is, what is the internal security challenge? Like, why has it gone on for so long? 50 years of Naxalites not being able, what have they done right?
See, Naxalites is only one part of our internal security challenge.
No, so
Naxalite is the eastern part, if you say. This is our own people who are misled and then they have taken to arms and various things like that. I told you, Punjab terrorism got extinguished by KPS Gill and Julio Ribeiro and various others. So is Bodo, so is Ulfa, so is JNK. Whereas they were not ideology-based revolutions. This is an ideology-based revolution.
People keep getting added.
People getting recruited, they are being trained rigorously, they are being paid and they are being taken care and things like that. The more you extinguish, the more they grow. It's like Ravan's head.
But
we behead one and 10 others appear.
So how do you kill off the source?
See, killing off the source is to see that the entire area which is completely underdeveloped is developed. The industries crop up, people get jobs, then the injustices heaped upon them by not giving. See, for example, as per the Forest Act, the tiller of the soil is the owner of the land. But these guys who are tilling in this forest area, they have got a Forest Act. Whatever forests produce in a year is belonging to them. Like Tendupata leaves, that cigarette ka, the BD, not cigarette, BD ka jo hai, the leaves are all collected by them. The contractors come. There's a lot of exploitation in that. Any forest product belongs to the people who are living in forest, the Adivasis. But the government, unless the land patta ownership document is given, in Maharashtra it's called Satbara. If that is not given, he can't get a bank loan. And the government doesn't recognize him as owner. Whereas as per the Forest Act, all the produce is belonging to him. So if that kind of a dichotomy, they are kept away from all the governmental development schemes. So this kind of a anomaly which is there in the development thing has to be changed. Your Nirav Modi and Vijay Mallya and various others are getting 12,000 crores or 9,000 crores bank loan. Do you think an Adivasi can go there and he will pledge what? And which bank will entertain him? Beyond his loincloth, he doesn't have nothing else to. You know why I started a roti bank here? Because I've seen in Gadchiroli women wearing only loincloth and nothing else. It's not for fashion parade. In Malabar Hill or Pali Hill, women may be going with loincloth because it's the most fashionable thing to do. But in Adivasis there, they eat red ants and crush it with salt and have it. Not because it's a delicacy, but because they don't have access to food. So that's why I started a roti bank and feeding 11,000 people a day in Nagpur also, in Ahmedabad, various places. Why is it? Because so much poverty is there. And alleviation of poverty has to be done systematically, Building huge Taj Mahals and structures like that, sending rockets to moon and Mars is one. But 800 million Indians are going hungry in the pandemic time. Earlier it was 200 million people. Now today 800 million Indians. Now these 800 million Indians who are all youngsters like you, if you don't have a job, if you have no purchasing power, what will you do? You will do property crime. You will do chain snatching by riding a motorcycle, or pickpocketing, or mobile snatching. That's what is happening. So amelioration of poverty in a systematic way by giving purchasing power to people. One anomaly I want to tell you is that after Green Revolution, earlier in 65, 67, when you were not born, there was no food available. It came from USA as PL 480. Gunny bags of thousands of tons of wheat came. And we all ate that, broken wheat and things like that. Whereas after C. Subramaniam as agriculture minister, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, the agricultural scientist, we got into green revolution. Now our godowns are overflowing. As on today, 97 million tons of grain is overflowing in our godowns.
And there's scope for even more growth now in the
Obviously,
agriculture.
when the crop pattern and all is changed, and you can grow in this room by putting plate after plate, you can grow mushrooms which will feed the entire Bombay.
I have some friends who are agricultural entrepreneurs, and that's what they keep highlighting, that even high quality farmers in India can still improve. There are that many improvements that have come up.
It's a crop pattern. For example, this is not my subject, I shouldn't be talking about it. Like in Punjab, repeatedly putting wheat and paddy, they've used multi-million tons of water which is not supposed to be wasted on. They have to change. That is what the farm law all about. These guys should have immediately switch over to cash crop, like putting brinjals, vegetables, bananas and various other things, and allow the land not to become fallow.
Yes, sir.
So
coming back to what we were talking about,
policing.
Do you think that if you teach this red corridor, I'm not saying everybody, but a majority of them, better agricultural tech and how to kind of improve the yields, will it fix the problem to some degree?
Naxalite problem will not be fixed by teaching agriculture to anybody. Naxalite problem will be only solved by educating all of them. See, when I was there in Naxalite area 95, 98, no government officer was there. Neither a primary health center, nor teacher, nor tahsildar, nor anybody was there. So send all the government people, give them the protection, educate them, take them out and show them what is the outside world all about. So cut the recruitment route, so that the recruitment of Adivasis inside this Naxalite forces will be stopped, and educate them, give them employment, take them in the police force and other forces. So if we can do that, and then only ultimately they should realize they are chasing a mirage. The mirage is they sitting in the government and running this government. No chance.
Yes,
no political party. We are entrenched in democracy, and we are not going to allow any dictatorial thing like communism or any such people and all. There, yes, two communist countries are there. That is West Bengal and Kerala. But then they are coming through elections. Jyoti Basu and various others, you may not be knowing. Grand old people, 40 years communist people were ruling West Bengal before Mamata Banerjee came and threw them off. In Kerala, even now, Pinarayi Vijayan and others are all belonging to Communist Party. UDA, UPA, NDA, all that they say, no.
Yeah.
So elected, even in, okay, giving you an example, in Nepal, the Deputy Prime Minister Prachanda is a Naxalite.
Yes, sir.
So, but they won the elections and they came.
So I also definitely want to highlight JNK a little bit because, and I'll tell you why. I feel urban Indians have very strong opinions about JNK without knowing the entire reality of what's happening there, which only the police force and only the army actually knows. And of course, locals from JNK. These are the only three parties that know. Now, because I have an IPS officer sitting in front of me, I want to ask you, sir, what's happening there? Could you draw out the real picture of what's happening in 2021?
See, J&K, the main thing is that they have not completely merged with the Indian culture. And they have that special thing that they deserve, that Article 370 and special protection and things like that. The other thing is, even though we have spent millions of crores and dollars, the real development has not reached there. The minimum tourism is the only thing, and apples and various other things are there. So we have to bring in industry there. We have to bring in education. One odd cricketer becoming there, or one odd IAS officer becoming there is nothing great. The youngsters, they are all wanting jobs. If you go for BSF recruitment or any recruitment, for every 10 vacancies, 10,000 people come and line up. So we have to give them jobs. We have to bring them, integrate them into this thing. And this abrogation of 370, they are not appreciating, others are appreciating. And the special powers of you and me not able to buy that land there, the Pandits having been driven out, these are all sore wounds which are bleeding even now. So all this has to be healed, and they looking up to Pakistan. Now, okay, if you allow them to go and join Pakistan tomorrow, do you think they are going to be happy? Pakistan is in shithole, you know. Sorry for my bad language. Their economy is in shithole. Absolutely. 10 times they have borrowed from IMF and others. They have not been able to pay interest for them. They are bailing out every time by borrowing money, billions of dollars from others. What do they produce? Have you seen a Pakistani car or a truck or anything like that? Nothing. So, but then they are doing jihadi export only. So they are stoking the fire in Pakistan, in this place. Our own, that people, various people who are the leaders of this Hurriyat and others, no, they are all. Mufti Muhammad, the lady or her father, they were all looking. She thanked after the elections, democratic elections, she won and then they formed. The first thing she thanked was Pakistan. So something in their psyche is very funny, that they are looking up to Pakistan as if they are the saviors. So this thing has to go. It'll take some time, maybe schools, colleges, education, infusion of jobs, and people going there and settling and things like that. It'll take a long time for integration of, and we are spending tons of money for their development. It is not that we neglected or ignored. Now, of course, this UT status has come, J&K is taken away, Ladakh and all that. So you give us a few years of time for them to come down to the reality, and things will change. And the Pakistan all the time infiltrating and sending people and things like that. Pakistan is dependent upon China for their misbehavior with us. You know, they have got a big brother who are encouraging them. So let that CPEC road get over and China treat Pakistan as a province, and then see what happens to them and all that. So in geopolitical changes which are taking place every now and then, a few years later things would all be in a different level altogether. So our problems, basically, if you ask me, internal security, if these are the problem, external security, I'll come back to say that the connection between Pakistan and China is the biggest worry we should worry about.
What's your prediction for the next 20 years?
See, we are becoming $5 trillion economy. Our Indians are all going there ruling. Abhi, in a jocular way, in your young people's world, they are sending Padega India or Badega USA. Then all people like you are all studying here BTech and going to USA, become a Sundar Pichai or a Satya Nadella or Indira Nui and all. America is growing at our cost. So our Indians are going there and making them the... so in that sense, we are also going to become, why 5 trillion? We can become 10 trillion, $20 trillion economy, provided we lose this shackle called corruption. If this corruption goes down, and then if we can focus on development, we'll be $5-10 trillion economy.
Do you see that happening?
I am seeing 100%. I am seeing not the green shoot. I am seeing a future absolutely bright. But then consciously, people like you and me should come together. Of course, my time is over. Your time is beginning.
That's why we're doing this, sir.
See that the corruption is rooted out. Corruption has to be rooted. The biggest problem of the country is corruption. This is a cancer which is growing. So if that is taken care of, $5 trillion economy is not a this development kai. Other name is Atmanirbhar Bharat and all that. But the point is, can we focus on producing those small things which are around me here? All these are Chinese products. So can we produce equally good quality products in India? Safety pin le lo, shirt le lo, ye le lo, Chinese products. Boycotting is easy. Bolna to easy. But can we produce all those things? Can they see all this sound and equipments which are having? How much is imported and how much is Atmanirbharta ka product hai? We should focus on quality and produce things. Even price, if it is a little bit expensive, I don't mind buying an Indian product which is of a high quality product. Reliable. It has to be reliable and it has to be. So if that happens, definitely we are going to go up. See, we are the youngest nation in the country. Our English education, computer education is, every child in my building or in my neighborhood is a coding master. 5-year-old boy is talking about, the other day I saw one boy, uncle, is this 14C? I said, what is 14C? This is the phone which you have. Is it 14C or 13C? He was asking. I said, I don't know. Have a look. He said, this is 11C. I said, acha, very nice. He was a 5-6-year-old boy. See the awareness, see the education, see the computer capabilities they have. So we have to do exploitation of all this and grow. Our colleges and universities have to allow people to come up with creativity and productivity and scientific research and other things. Patents, for example, patents. We must compete with the whole world and come up with patents on very many things that way. So if we do that, if we are going to, and our guys are very, very young in age, but it will not, the demographic dividend as they call, is not going to last long. How long are we going to become? One day, you are now, today if you are 28, you are going to become 71 like me one day. But before that, you have to reap the benefit of being young.
Yeah, I think we will, sir, hopefully.
We will. Of course, I am very optimistic.
100%.
From what I have seen from my school days to now, tremendous things have come into work.
My studies for content took me into something called the Great Japanese Economic Miracle, which is what happened after World War II.
Second World War, yes.
Yeah,
I went just before this
COVID.
This pandemic. I went to Japan for 12 days. What a country! Wow.
Incredible, yeah.
But those guys at that time, November 2019, they had the mask and they maintained 6 feet distance. And the COVID was not in the scene. It is their culture. Okay? This is their culture. Discipline and productivity.
Yeah. Productivity is also the highlight.
And whenever they wanted to strike, they produced more and made that owner fumble as to, now what do I do with this?
Yeah.
The famous story, since youngsters are listening to me, IBM placed an order of some 10,000 product and the contract mein likha tha, 10 pieces per 1,000 could be defective. Margin they gave. So these people didn't know what is defective product. So the 1,000 out of 1,000 has to be perfect product. So they worked overtime to see that 10 defective pieces are produced. And they left a letter saying that these 10 products per 1,000 we are giving you because you mentioned in your contact that 10 defect. Imagine that kind of culture. Can we have that?
Yeah. So I don't know if we'll reach that kind of level because Japan, I feel for hundreds and hundreds of years, they've had some kind of discipline levels in their culture. So maybe it'll take us time, but we can learn from the productivity hacks.
Japan, if you read history before World War II, they were the most cruel people.
Yeah.
And all that happened, that Pearl Harbor attack and all that. So they were, evolution is very fast and very good. And they, of course, were Buddhists and Buddhism went from here and things like that. They have cultural ties with us, but then they evolved very fast.
So even though they were evil, I think power got to the heads, but there was a sense of discipline, productivity,
of course.
honor, things like that.
Look at this Toyota, Honda, various cars which are all having. What kind of quality products they are,
So my solution to the India problem, honestly, is what I call ethical capitalism mixed with far spread education. Ethical capitalism, hopefully, I believe will happen through people who are doing it, like entrepreneurs who stand for ethics. Secondly, it probably can happen through content like this. And third, I think it'll happen through storytelling, fiction, because that's what really enters a human mind really deeply.
What I, as a policeman, is getting scared of is, I read the other day that in the last 5, 6, 7 years, 5 lakh Indians have moved away from this country. They've gone to foreign countries. And quite a few thousands of people are $1 million entrepreneurs like you. People who are enterprising nature. So every $1 million entrepreneur who moved away from here has taken away the potential job he would have created. The unicorn concept which you are talking about, those unicorn guys have gone away there and they are making America great. So that is a dangerous. We have to have a reverse brain drain, and we have to hold on to these people who are going away to USA. Every average Indian middle class family is boasting that their 2 children are in the USA, in the Silicon Valley. So this, if unless this changes our country. But only point is, when those guys come back, do we give them a conducive environment where they feel happy?
So conducive environment has started to form now because of the startup.
True, but the corruption is what they are bugged about.
Yeah.
The Indian boys like you, girls who have gone there, they are willing to come here and work, provided they don't have to go and stand in front of these red tapists and bureaucrats and others, get hauled by income tax and the ED and various others. Like you, create a unicorn. Your growth has to be celebrated. I should put a red carpet for you. Instead of that, if I get you visited by ED and income tax and customs and various others. In this pandemic time, I still remember one boy living in my building had a few $1 million worth of sulfur waiting in Kandla port. And he could not go to Gujarat, and he could not go to Delhi, and he could not clear all those things. Where it was going? To China. If I were the government officer in charge of that, I would have come home and I would have given him clearance, because it was bringing to India quite a few $1 million. Million.
Yeah.
But if a government fellow said, what the hell, what the heck, if your mall is not going, if you are not going to China, how do I care? If this attitude changes, that foreign currency was coming to our country. Government is going to benefit.
Yeah.
If that attitude doesn't change, just because you join the IPS or IRS or IAS, you should say that it's a file. I don't care about the man behind the file.
Speaking about China, sir, I know geopolitics is a subject that interests you a lot. What is the geopolitical picture when it comes to this India versus China situation over 20
See,
years?
they are 10 times bigger than in everything. Well, we can only compare our population. In the Army, Navy, Air Force and this thing, in the GDP and various other things, they are 10 times bigger than us. And they don't care a damn about it. I want you and all other people to read a book by a man called Michael Pillsbury. Michael Pillsbury. Pillsbury is Philsbury. It is called 100-year marathon by China for overtaking USA and reach the top. That's the So from 1949 to 2049 is a 100-year period. One policy, one thing, one focus. They wanted to go at it and become the most powerful country. Not to give you democracy, not to give you soft treatment, to give you one solid punch on the nose with a steel hand. They wanted to have that position. And this guy who is there present now has thinks already he has reached that position. So he is having a fight with the South China Sea, with the Philippines president, with everybody, even with Biden and various others. He is having a problem all over because they think they have reached. They are trying to replace dollar by the Chinese currency. And United Nations, they are occupying all important places. So China is not a major problem for India alone. China is a major problem for the whole world. For example, the Wuhan virus, isn't it a bio war they have created?
Yeah.
How many million people have died? How many people have the guts to say that it is from there? And WHO chief and all went there, did some investigation, they didn't allow anything, but they came back. They couldn't prove that it is a bat versus rat or rat versus cat.
Yeah, they'd also given wrong inputs about the virus and everything.
True, but what action was taken by anybody? So that way China is becoming stronger and stronger, and they are also engulfing us by occupying Sri Lanka, then various other, Iran, that Chabar port, and Pakistan, that CPEC corridor, and laying roads in Arunachal Pradesh, occupying Ladakh and Aksai Chin and all that. So we have to worry, but the point is, by worrying, we are not going to do anything. Economy is the only thing we can do. Our economy has to grow, and we have to become economically very, very strong. Of course, deployment of Army, Navy, Air Force, and various other things have to happen. We have to consolidate as a power in the world.
Yeah.
By economic might and other power, we must secure a seat in the United Nations Security Council. If that happens, and then we become more powerful. See, China and Russia are together. I mean, I shouldn't be talking about diplomacy and things like that. I think I am launching into a field which I am not very familiar with. But if China and Russia are together and Pakistan is also joining, and we are not aligned to anybody and things like that, it's going to be, we have a Quad and we have another one, AUKUS or FOCUS or whatever it is, all sorts of things. But point is, when it comes to tomorrow, when Taiwan, it will be taken over by China, who is going to protect Taiwan? Because they are the biggest semiconductor producers in the world. So if China moves into Taiwan and take over, what will happen to all the computers and other things there? So that is all the biggest worry about China coming and doing things like that. So we must know as to who is our enemy and how we can. The only way is that if we are 1.4 billion people, they are also the same. Do we take up the economy? Do we take up the military might? Do we take up the GDP?
Again,
take up the per capita income?
the answer is capitalism, according to me, a form of it.
I'm not here. I'm not an economist to suggest what capitalism or Naxalism or communism or not. But the fact remains that the world recognizes somebody who has got the means to protect himself.
Yeah.
You and me, you can preach a lecture like Vivekananda or anybody saying that, the whole world is a Maya, you sacrifice and all. But you reach Mukesh Ambani's wealth and then tell people that wealth is nothing great about it. You have to be a rich man to give that lecture.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have another burning question for you
Yeah.
in my head for a while.
Yeah.
You worked both in the Intelligence Bureau and the CBI. What's life like there? Like in both those worlds, if you could describe that.
Yeah.
Starting with the Intelligence
every
Bureau.
IPS officer, in my opinion, I keep going to the National Police Academy. I keep telling every IPS officer must have a stint in the Intelligence Bureau in the beginning of their career.
For someone who doesn't know what the IB does, could you
IB is collecting internal intelligence. They are all over the country. They are spread. Their internal security is their important thing. All about all this blasts, LTTE, Naxalism, everything. They keep their eyes and ears open. States, every state police also has their own state intelligence bureau. And then they keep watch as to what's all happening, and they inform the government so that informed policy decisions can be taken by the government. So that is Intelligence Bureau. Offshoot of that is R&AW. And R&AW is only for external intelligence. Pakistan was bifurcated by R&AW's intelligence. R.N. Kaur was the man. There is a book called The Art of War, how R&AW was brought about and how they brought about Bangladesh. I suggest your readers to read that book. And how Bangladesh was created. Okay, our army and General Sam Manekshaw and all they did, but the whole background work, completely successful job was done by the R&AW. That was the beginning of R&AW. Mr. Ramnath Kaur was the one who spearheaded that. Shankaran Nair is another man. So this type of exposure for an IPS officer or others is a must, so that you know how you can focus, collect intelligence, and how to do that and things like that. Yes.
And what about the CBI, sir?
CBI is more of investigation. It is all about investigation. They don't get saddled with all nonsense like the local police is doing. Anybody going to police station, we are saddled with case false or right or wrong. We have to investigate, waste our time. So we have got millions and millions of cases which right, wrong or police is to. Whereas CBI picks and chooses as to what is given by the government, or what is given by the state government on request, or what is given by the Supreme Court or High Court. There it ends. So CBI has the choice of picking up on cases, and they have officers on deputation like me and various others. They can pick up the best talent, and then they deploy them, and so their conviction rate is 70%. If the state could be much, much, much less. But we are dealing with volume, which is many more times bigger than the CBI cases.
What does working in the IB or the CBI or the CBI do to a person's mind, sir?
See, that's what happened to me. You look at me, what I did in the police is the culmination of what I learned from the IB and the CBI. See, if CBI's investigation skills as to how you can say Harshad Mehta case, this banking scam, or Nirav Modi case, or various cases, give you a complete insight as to how do you do forensic, how do you do cyber forensics now. Cybercrime is the future crime. In fact, I should be talking more about diplomacy and China. I should have kept my mouth shut. But we should be speaking about cybercrime and the future crime.
You feel free.
And this is where the CBI and others score, because they are ahead of all other people. They have got the foresight. I request all your readers to read a book by Mark Goodman, a policeman again, M-A-R-C, Mark Goodman, G-O-O-D-M-A-N. This is a future crime is the name of the book. It says all the future crime will be computer crimes hereafter. For computer crime or cyber crime, the criminal need not visit the site at all. Example is North Korean based cyber criminals working for a Mauritius or some such place, sitting in the Bank of Bangladesh computer systems for 2 years, ordered Federal Reserve in the USA to release $1 billion in Manila. So after sitting for a long time in the computer system unobserved, they issued the orders sitting in the systems of Bangladesh on a Friday evening. By Monday morning in Manila, they got $83 million and they walked away. Nobody has been able to detect. This is a cyber crime. Okay. Now in this, see the geography. Allegedly, they are North Koreans. Allegedly, they are working in Mauritius. The place of work play is in Dhaka, Bangladesh, and the money is there in Federal Reserve, New York, and the money is received in Manila. And after that, the whole world is their playground. So this is the kind of thing which will happen. We have to be ready for that.
I'm assuming it's not just financial, that there can be other things. You
No,
can
there
detonate.
can be anything. Like you buy a high-end car, I can drive you from behind and crash you. So cybercrime is everything. Say, for example, this air conditioner. I can see that it is spouting poisonous gas and all of you can be killed. I can open your door by putting your finger biometrics in my system. I can open anything. I can make your system explode from long distance.
You can make trains crash.
I can do anything as long as these systems are all running on computer-based technology. So future crimes are all going to be committed by through computer only, because our dependence on computer is becoming more and more. It's become a body part. No, it has become a body part. So we have to be worried about that and what kind of things can happen, what kind of crash can happen. Coming back to those strategies in 1998, which you couldn't, I couldn't answer, that mafia story which we began. So if this is the end of the session we are going to have, I must say that ahead of the times, we brought about a new law called Maharashtra Organized Crime Control Act. That worked wonders, because that had special court, special prosecution. Within 1 year of commission of crime, the trials were getting over, whereas other cases took 20 years and 30 years, murder, dacoity, robbery. That was one thing. Then we used this detention act. 1,600 criminals were retained for 1 year. So 1,600 years of man-years of criminals were spent behind the bars, behind jail. So that much crime has to come down. The guns, 2,500 guns, these fellows had access to, all illegal guns. We mopped it up by seizing it from them. And then that few so-called encounters which they said they shot, we shot. That is all as per law, as per section 100 of the Indian Penal Code. And with all these things, the name and fame which was attributed for market reasons to this so-called encounter specialists was wrong. Falsely, it was given all the credit they took over because the press gave it to them. They all got vanished now. Pradeep Sharma and that other fellow Vazay, they are all in jail now in Taloja with that Mukesh Ambani house jeep wala matter. Then others have all gone into jail and they vanished and things like that. So that 98 experiment of how one man or how one determined individual can solve a major issue which was pestering for a long time is a experiment worth analyzing and finding out. In that, the strategies you mentioned about strategy. What are those strategies? For example, all the telephone tapping which you did legally, 1885 law, telegraph law allows us to tap telephone. So we never thought until then that foreign telephones owned by Dawood Ibrahim or Chhota Rajan in Cambodia or Malaysia could not be tapped. That was the people's belief. One day I thought, why don't we go and check with VSNL? We went there, I found out, lo and behold, they said, why? It is the gateways here, we can do that. So once we tap that, all the intelligence as to who they are going to kill, who they are going to shoot. So normally in the movies they show, no, the police always comes late and they blow the whistle and all that. It reversed. In Amir Khan's house or O.P. Datta's house or various other houses of the cinema people, policemen were waiting. When these guys came and saw, they shot because they thought policemen were all buddhus. But the police were very sharp and well-trained, bulletproof jackets and all that. That is where the control happened. This is strategy, if you ask me. That how a VSNL can allow us a peep into their mind. Now, again, that comes to this thing. What is intelligence? You spoke about IB elaborately. Collecting intelligence, either physically be part of the conspiracy, how many times can be part of the conspiracy. But if there is a telephone tapping of this type, whatever you give orders to whoever it is, I get access to your future plan as to what you are going to do. Okay, very simple. If people getting complicated, what people don't understand what. Say, for example, you got or your father got an extortion call. What did they do? From Karachi, they will call and leave the number. Your father will say, your servant will say, Malik nahi hai. So he says, लिख लो ये number. Malik आने के बाद बोलो ये number को phone करें. भाई को phone करे बोल के बोलेगा. But now when your father comes to my office saying that, sir, they are asking me to call this number, I take the telephone on listening watch. Now your father speaks or he calls or anybody calls, that number gives me their plan and who they are going to shoot or who they are going to execute. So we suddenly from human intelligence, we went to mechanical, electronic intelligence, not mechanical, electronic intelligence. Electronic intelligence is far superior. So that earlier role, as youngsters would call, police ka Pandu bulate the. Pandu used to come late after the whole thing is over and all that. That completely got reversed. We were there way ahead of them.
And now,
so this is what the strategy you were talking about. Using a law called MPDA, which was there already, but we detained 1,600 people in 3 years, which was not used earlier police and the later police. So by doing this kind of a legal job, for example, whatever encounter took place, that was perfectly legal. Under 100 of the Indian Penal Code, there was no allegation, there was nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong.
And your electronic intelligence, I feel, then turned into this computer intelligence, which brings me to one of my final questions, sir.
Yeah.
What does the Aam Janta need to know about cybercrime right now? The common man.
Cybercrime is simple. Sorry to butt in.
No.
Cybercrime, nobody can go ahead of the cyber criminals because cyber develops by the minute and second. It is like covering with a basket the sun which is shining in the afternoon. Nobody can control the growth of science and technology. So only thing you can do is being aware as to how you can become a buddhu. Like for example, I get a message saying that, would you like to have sex with so-and-so, young and nubile and all that. Do I get hooked into that? Or I get a job offer, all of you young people getting, you get a job in RBI, Reserve Bank of India, TCS, Infosys and all that. Okay, then you get hooked to that. They say, okay, pay 40,000 rupees. Fake. These are all fake. So also in the businesses, they say man in the middle where your money to be paid to him. They say instead of this account, you send it to that one telephone call. Like you are paying his account in New York all the time. But they say, okay, put it in Rome. You should ask them, phone call karo na. Are all the time you took money in New York. Why are you asking me to put it in Rome? We don't do that. So with that, it is happening in a big way. What is, I'll give you again example. In Thane, there was a school teacher, a lady, and who was got into that, I get, you also get, Reader's Digest thing, Coca-Cola, $200 million. Some African woman will write, my father gave a large, I want to give it. Who would give you 1 rupee? Do you get a free lunch anytime? Nobody gives you anything free. So people should be aware that this greed for unearned money has to be come to a big zero. You work for it and earn your burger or vada pav. No?
Yes.
No free vada pav anybody will give. If you give also, you don't take it. So this is the awareness in computer, saying that they are asking for, just like Jamtara, they are all uneducated boys. They speak like SBI or Bank of Baroda officers and they talk to you and all that. The minute you say, भाई मुझे नहीं चाहिए तुम्हारा, तुम account बंद करेगा ना, कर लो बंद, I'll start one more account. If you do all these things, if your OTP number or various other details are not given to anybody, one day one income tax man called me and said, how much of advance tax you have paid? I'm from finance minister. I said, who the heck are you? I will never give you these details, and you are a phone call for me. You know, unless somebody comes and sits in front of me and I identify you and verify you, I'm not going to give you any information. Hell with you. Oh, no, we have to collect it and give it to the finance. I said, you do your job. I'm not going to give my job. Khatam na. So this unsolicited demand for your thing because you are going to benefit and you are going to get $200 million. By who will give you $200 million? Your father is not giving you $200 million, right?
Yeah.
So this awareness of that I cannot earn money without actually putting in hard work, and this windfall as they call it will never come your way. जो pocket में है वो भी सब निकल जाएगा. Lot of people daily in the press you read, either Times of India or Indian Express you read, daily people are losing money because they have fallen into con game. Nothing. Even G20, the ambassadors a year or two before, they were given that free keychains, USB, keychain with USB. They put it in their laptops. Every computer was taken over by the others. Now, ambassadors G20 taking such a freebie and then using it and losing their data, something unimaginable, unbelievable.
Yeah. This whole podcast has been unbelievable for me, sir. There's
I'll come again.
Yeah, there's rarely a podcast where I feel so heavy posted, and it's beautifully heavy, honestly. It's not in a bad way. Maybe to end this conversation, I have one question which I wanted to ask you again from the moment we started rolling. In your entire career, what has been the most challenging day for you as a man?
See, in the police, every day is a challenge. Anything can take you hundreds of kilometers away and you have to be prepared. You have to be prepared for... See, when we plan for a bandobast or anything like that, we plan for the worst day scenario, where everything like sky is falling, the sea is coming and occupying, and the VIP has been shot dead, and there is a riot all over. If that is the day I get up in the morning and I plan for that, I have a plan A, and if plan A fails, I have a plan B and plan C, and I have the resources and wherewithal. For example, 2611. Why did we fail? That 10 fellows coming, two fellows each place, we failed because we failed miserably in anticipation. That was a lack of leadership. We had AK-47, we had commandos, we had everything. Where did the Mumbai police become a laughing stock because it was a war by Pakistan on 26/11. Another day, if you like this conversation, I'll come again on 26/11. So we lacked anticipation and deploy those commandos with all AK-47. We had AK-47s that time. We had commandos. So in that sense, every day, a policeman's day is a challenge for which one has to be ready. You have to keep your gunpowder dry. You can't have a wet gunpowder and go to a war. Lastly, I was a very, very docile professor of economics in Madras University. कुचली आ गया, मुझे लगा वो चैलेंजिंग लाइफ होना चाहिए, तो IPS में फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट में पास करके आ गया. फिर तो एवरीडे चैलेंजिंग है. Now you asked for it. You read Rhonda Byrne's, The Secret, where you desire for something, you get it. So like that, I desired for a very challenging life. I got a challenging life. Now I can't say, I don't want a roller coaster ride. अरे नीचे उतारो, नहीं हुआ. So for me, it was I asked for a challenging life. I got one. I thoroughly enjoyed. I must tell you, there was not a day where, failures were there. There were heavy days. I felt bad. When a human life is lost, we could have saved that. So many such things happened. But overall, if you look back, it's a fantastic journey, and it's a very, very ideal kind of journey where I don't have to look back and regret that I've done something wrong.
Yeah.
Okay? So that is the reward where you lead a grandfather. Like tomorrow, if my grandchild is asking for stories, I can tell without hiding any guilty, wrong thing. I can tell openly all stories, and it will be all true, and all there will be positive and productive stories.
Yeah.
So that's about it. We've got a long way. We will go again. I'll come back to you again.
Yes, sir.
If your listeners like this. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. One last sentence I want to end with, which is that you're an absolute tiger, and people don't understand everything that the entire police force of the country has done for us, our safety. So on behalf of the entire country, I salute you.
Thank you very much.
And I really bow down to you. I also bow down to you for all your individual contributions, which came up in my research for this episode. And most of all, I bow down to you for sharing everything with the internet. So this is going to stay on the net
Absolutely,
forever.
there's nothing to hide about it. I request all your visitors to visit this Roti Bank initiative. Please visit my website called www.rotibankindia.org. We are feeding the poor free of cost. In this pandemic times, we have fed 6.6 million people a day until today. Every day in Mumbai alone, we are feeding 10 to 11,000 people. Idea is to give it to poor children so that they can go to school, study, come up, get employment, crime will be less.
Yes.
So ultimately, I'm trying to control crime by feeding the poor. So that's it. So thank you so much for having me on your show. Wonderful. I enjoyed.
We're very glad.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So that was the episode with one of the country's most legendary cops. When you meet him in person, his energy does get a little bit intimidating. It's not easy to absorb everything that he's seen, all the perspectives that he has. But in his heart, he's someone who just wants to share his experiences, share his learnings, so that the next generation of Indians that's coming out is much more informed, is much more capable, and honestly is much more street smart. For you guys to tell us on our social media in the comment section what you liked about this particular episode, drop a comment, interact, give this episode a like, share it as much as possible. Also, remember to check out our YouTube channel TRS Clips for highlights of this episode. Forward the highlights to your friends on WhatsApp. But above all, follow us on Spotify because we're Spotify exclusive now. Every episode is available on Spotify 48 hours before it's available anywhere else in the world. Tell us through your suggestions what other topics you'd like us to cover with D. Sivanandhan. So, this was just episode 1.